the way to stand out is to get people to talk about you. Cannes is like the Oscars of the creativity industry.
You said it's like the Oscar.
The reason we came into the business because we wanted to take part in this marketplace of ideas.
Welcome to Market of Influence. Gilad Kat, founder of Blue Oyster Agency in Tel Aviv.
Hello, Guy. How are you? Great to be here.
Good to see you. Good to see you. Today we're going to talk about the road to Cannes Lions. Gilad, what is Cannes Lions Festival all about?
Yeah, well, Cannes is like the Oscars of the creativity industry. It used to be called an advertising festival, but a couple of years ago they changed it to a creativity festival, and it covers anything, any industry that has to do with creativity, from traditional advertising to product innovation and any other creative marketing venture.
So what is you are a media planning legend. You worked for MediaCom for many years. People know you like that. How did you make the switch to teaching people how to get to Cannes Lions?
Well, you know that advertising is a marketplace of ideas. And it used to be that the creative department in the ad agencies was in charge of creativity. That's their name. And the media department or media agencies like us were kind of to the side, number crunchers. We just the dumb pipe that sends the message out to the target audience. But I realized that me and the people that I work with in media departments and media agencies, the reason we came into the business because we wanted to take part in this marketplace of ideas. We wanted to also create a currency of ideas, and we have room for that because we can do creative media, not necessarily about the message itself, but the way we reach consumers can also be creative. And when I visited Cannes for the first time, I realized that was really a long time ago in 2004. I realized that we can do it.
So is this really about taking the data and the insights from the data and driving creative?
Yeah, it's about, again, how do I reach people in an environment where people pay less and less attention to media? They actually block advertising, they skip it, they're blind to it, if we call it banner blindness sometimes. How do we overcome this and really gain attention to the messages and to the way we deliver them?
Give me an example.
So a few years ago, I worked with P&G in Indonesia, in Jakarta, and I ran the workshop that I run, which is called Road to Cannes, which basically looks at Cannes as a benchmark for excellence in our industry and trying to get companies, media agencies, clients, especially in the more peripheral geographics, to set Cannes as their benchmark for excellence. And I worked with a team in Jakarta, and the business brief was quite straightforward. P&G saw an issue with one of their brands, Head and Shoulders, that was selling really well. It actually was number one in the organized trade, in the large supermarkets where you pick the product on your own. But it had an issue in the smaller shops, the mom and pop shops, where you need to ask for it from the seller. And the agency that was working on this brief during the brainstorming came up with an explanation to that. The agency was called Ambelhati, by the way. And they came up with this insight that people are embarrassed to say the words Head and Shoulders because they're not sure how they pronounce it. So they really come into the store, they want to buy the Head and Shoulders, but they ask for the competitor, which was much easier to pronounce. And then once we realize this, and you have around the table, you know, the media person, the creative, the brand team, we started developing ideas that tackle just that. And for example, in that case, the idea was say it proudly, say Head and Shoulders, however you want to say it, we will accept it. They even got, P&G got the top global marketing manager to approve Indonesia as the only market where you can say Head and Shoulders and write Head and Shoulders any way you want it. They created 300 packs with different brand names on them that were close to Head and Shoulders, but not exactly that, according to the different dialects in Indonesia. They created a blooper video of Joe Taslim. Joe Taslim is the #1 movie actor in Indonesia and also the spokesperson for the brand. And it was a kind of a leaked blooper video where he can't pronounce himself Head and Shoulders. And once people realized that even this top talent cannot pronounce the brand name correctly, they knew that they could also feel free about their mistakes, and was a huge success in Indonesia.
So tell me about when you take this creative approach, beyond getting awards such as Cannes Lion, right? Obviously, and beyond the media side of it, can you talk about the earned media? What happens when somebody comes up with a great creative?
So again, this is a good example. When you stay only confined to the ad break or to the out of home site or to your specific ad, you're usually being skipped over. You're not paid attention. The way to stand out is to get people to talk about you. Seth Godin called it remarkable, to get people to remark on what you did, to share it, to talk about it with other people, to discuss it. That's how you know. And these days, we're not doing our job as media people, as ad people, if we don't find ourselves at the end of the day on social media being talked about. It's the only way to survive as a brand.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. But I have a question for you, Gilad. When I think of Cannes Lions, you said it's like the Oscars. Well, in the Oscars, it's usually the big studio that wins all the awards. Isn't that the same with, all the major publicly traded media companies like, Omnicom or like Publicis, right? Don't they own this market? Do the small guys have a chance?
The small guys definitely have a chance, but you need to, it's like this story about the guy who never bought a lottery ticket and didn't understand why they didn't win the lottery. So you need to play the game. You need, as I mentioned, to put Khan as your benchmark for excellence. Compare the work that you're doing to what is happening in Khan, and then see how you can upgrade your work as an agency, as a marketer, to become world-class level. Once you play the game, you can be there. And I work mostly with small markets, peripheral market, with small agencies, independent agencies, and it can be done.
So, just real quickly, just so I understand, what is the service that you actually provide to agencies?
Yeah, so I run these workshops that are called Road to Con, and that's exactly that. We promise 72 hours from brief to idea. We gather around the table all functions and all disciplines that work with the brand. So it would be the PR agency, the brand people themselves, the media agency, the creative agency, sometimes even a platform like Google or Facebook that can join. And once you have all the disciplines, all the people with the know-how around the table, the magic happens. We have a set process that we go through in order to get to these amazing ideas, and keeping, again, all the time the benchmark of Khan to evaluate whether the ideas are good enough to compete and to become world class.
Awesome. Now, Gilad, you know all about the content creators, the independents, the influencers, especially the nano and the micro. I like those. That's what I'm passionate about. Can you talk about how individual content creators are changing the game even in Cannes Lions? I mean, do you see them over there?
Yeah. So even before we talk about Con Lion, I think in the last couple of years, there's no argument anymore, and influencers have become a media pillar that you consider, just as if you're talking about TV or online video as a media category. You would have in your media mix influencers as a standalone pillar of what you're doing. That's no longer even a question now. As Cannes Lions as an organization, a couple of years ago, they've already, or last year, I don't remember exactly the day, but they created also a category for influencers, and this is really something that kind of gives the final stamp on influencers as of, a legitimate, again, media category that, should be taken into account. Once Khan gives you your own category for influencers and creators, that's like the official stamp of the industry for that.
Mm. And maybe this is exactly where the industry is going. I don't remember what year it was, in the 80s when the book Advertising is Dead came out. But I'm going to argue, and many have, that, traditional advertising, as you said, nobody's paying attention. Nobody wants to be disrupted. And these content creators who have the relationships with their followers, who want to hear from them, who care about what they have to say, who think everything they say is relevant, maybe that, along with native advertising, is just going to be the future of advertising. As somebody who's been a veteran, you've been in the game for 20, 30 years already. I don't know. What do you
Yeah.
think? Where are we going?
Yeah, so you're spot on. I mean, 70% of the people say they trust influencers more than brands. So that's from a research that came out just last year. Um, we have a tendency to kill historical elements of our industry, the death of the TV spot or the death of classic opera. Usually what happens is radio wasn't dead again when TV was born, and it actually still is as a media that survived until today. So we don't always have to kill the old media platforms or the old advertising ways in order to accept the new ones. There's room for everyone. And in fact, my kind of view is that these would live side by side in the media mix. The media mix will be much more complex. It will include top of the funnel, middle of the funnel, bottom of the funnel platforms, each one of them serving a different role. There's obviously more to choose from, so it is different, but it's not necessarily about replacement, but more about adding more and more platforms according to the changing behaviors of our target audience.
So you pretty much answered my next question, which was, I was about to ask you if programmatic is going to just completely take over media, but it sounds like, AI is far from being able to strategize and put together all these elements.
Um, let's see. It could change in like months. Where we're not even talking about years. Programmatic as a media method of reaching target audience, reaching people, was seen at one stage as kind of the magic and the what we were waiting for, zero wastage, and so forth. We're reaching exactly the people that we need to talk to. But gradually people realized that, first of all, it's not always the bottom of the funnel that is the only thing that you need. The long and short of it, of course, you need to build long-term brand equity, and it's not necessarily about the people who are in the market right now, but also the people who might be in the market a year from now. So it needs to be combined, and it needs to be a mix. Again, we're not replacing, we're adding to the mix,
Yeah.
to the media.
And data and AI is now replacing creativity. It may be enhancing it. And that may lead some firms, some agencies, some brands to the road to Cannes Lions, where they can get national recognition. Gilad Kat, thank you so much for coming in today. Awesome conversation. We really appreciate it.
Thank you, Guy. Thank you. It was a pleasure. Thank you very much.